going to go over the basics of setting base edge bevel. This is something that is really simple to do. It's really easy to screw up as well. So we're going to just kind of touch on the points that what you should be looking for and things that you shouldn't do, and go from there. So basically, the first thing I'd say is less is more with base bevel. The guides that we're going to be using, if you continue to let the file pull and cut, even though it says it's a 1/2 degree guide or a 3/4 degree guide, it'll actually pull more than that. So be careful not to overdo it. We'll go over that once we start pulling some file here. Pretty simple. Generally speaking, I'd recommend not doing this to people. It's really easy to screw up, and if the bevel's been set already, if you've had your skis worked on, the angle's set. If you go to touch it up or set the bevel yourself, you're just going to be adding more and more bevel. The skis become less and less reactive. So I'd highly recommend not doing this on your own after the skis have been prepped. Right, so when we're setting base edge bevel, there's a few tools that we're going to need. One's a true bar to be able to check the current angle and see what the condition of our skis is in. The second thing we're going to need is a file guide. These are a couple Sun Valley Ski Tools file guides, 3/4 degree and 1/2 degree. We're going to need a file card, a brush to clean off our file, and then we're going to need a 12-inch 13 or 16 tooth racing file. Also, we're going to need a couple of decent vices and center clamp. Okay, before we get going too far here, the first thing we're going to want to take a look at is the actual base condition of the ski. We can do that by checking it with a true bar. Right now what I'm looking for is just to make sure that the base material is flat and true, and I can't see any light underneath my bar. The second thing I want to look at is the relationship of the edge material to that flat base material. These skis have just come off the stone grinder, so they're absolutely flat. There's no bevel. Now when I talk about bevel, I talk about if I match the angle of the actual edge, there shouldn't be any movement of the bar at all. And I can see that these skis are dead flat. If there was some bevel here, if I was to match the angle, it would look like this. And that's probably close to 1 degree, 3/4 degree, and 1/2 degree. 1/2 degree is a very slight bevel. The less bevel on the ski, the quicker it is to initiate and get the edges into the snow when you roll your boot up on edge. If there's a lot of bevel, you have to roll up quite a bit further to get the edges to initiate. Less bevel, very slight movement. So we know that ski is flat and true and that there's no bevel, so now we can set a 1/2 degree. First thing we're going to do is take our file and clean it. So it's going to help the fins cut and also prevent any scratching to the base material. Second thing we want to do is take our guide itself and clean that to make sure that that's not going to create any burrs on the base edge. These metal portions, if they're burred, they'll scratch the base material, so it's really good to take a ceramic stone and just clean those off before you get going. Once you've done that, you can get ready to pull base edge bevel. And I like to start at the tip of the ski, set the guide up, and pull from tip to tail in one solid, consistent movement. Alright, so four pulls with the medium race file with the Sun Valley 1/2 degree is going to give you a 1/2 degree bevel. Now when I check that, I can look see what kind of bevel we have over here and match the angle and roll it up. And I can see that that's giving me a 1/2 degree. If I keep pulling and the file is still cutting, and I keep pulling to the point that it's not cutting anymore, I'll actually set more than a 1/2 degree on the skis. The guides will actually cut more if you let them. So I'd always say, pull less, go out and try skiing on the skis. If they feel too edgy, you could always come back into the chop and pull a little bit more base bevel. You can dial it in. If you go too far, you set more than a half degree on your ski. To get it back to where you need to, you have to regrind the skis, flatten them out, and start all over again. So it's a lot easier just to chip away at it than it is to add too much. Alright, so once we've pulled one edge, it's just simple to flip the ski around like this and do the same procedure. At this point, you just want to take a scraper, remove any of the excess filings. Double check my angle to make sure I have a half degree on both sides. I like to check in 3 different places to make sure it's consistent. You can see I have the correct half degree set for the whole length of the ski, and at this point the skis are ready for side edge filing.